Welcome Natalia Okhotnikova from the ZMINA organization, Sasha Romantsova for Center for Civil Liberties, and Daryna Pidhorna and Kseniia Korniienko from Regional Center for Human Rights. And I'm definitely going to let you ask questions, but if you don't mind, I will ask some of my questions I'm interested in, and they may be interesting for you too, and we can get to more to the detail later on. So, the city of Kherson was recently retaken by Ukrainian forces, liberated, and how long is it? 2 weeks, not more. So I want to know, what have we learned, what have you learned about Kherson, about the, well, talking about war crimes, so what have you found out so far? Whoever you feel.
Okay, it's war. Great. So I'm just oriented you. Kherson, it's the south part of Ukraine. It's 40 minutes by car from my native Nikolaev, where I was born. And it's a place which really strategy important for Russian Federation because of two reasons. First of all, it's nearest region of Ukraine of Crimea, and maybe you remember that Crimea, it's a beautiful place which exactly last 8 years Russian Federation broken like a place for rest and it's really like a military base. Before that, in Soviet Union time, that was a lot of military objects, so Russian repair them and renew again. So it's more exactly dangerous place for Europe because from whole the weapon which you put in Crimea, you can get any point in Europe, exactly. So one of the big problems for Russian Federation in annexation of Crimea was exactly water, because south part of Ukraine, both Nikolaev, Kherson and Crimea, don't have enough drinking water, like just not salt water. That's why exactly Russian Federation trying to, at the beginning, buy water from Ukraine for Crimea, and now they exactly kept territory which need give this water from Dnipro, main biggest river in Ukraine, to Crimea. From one side. From other side, they interesting to have a corridor from south territory of Russian Federation till Crimea, so give opportunity Russian forces and Russian army exactly going not only through the Kerch bridge in the territory of peninsula, but and through the biggest territory of south part of Ukraine. That's why they need Mariupol, that's why they need south of Zaporozhye region, that's why they need a Kherson, because Kherson exactly it's a larger city near the Crimea. So, and that was biggest politician like victory of Putin to catch exactly Kherson. So now when right bank of river Dnipro in Kherson, so we have like 20% of territory of Kherson, like a city was not released, and part nearest the Crimea still need to be released, and we have Kimburg Peninsula, it's a place where we have natural park, and exactly it's one of the biggest my worry what happened with unique animals which before that were there. And this place just we have a military operation of releasing them just now. What happened in Kherson we knew before he was released, because a lot of people from occupation give information what happened there. So we don't have a big breaking news, just the numbers. Every time when Russian forces occupied any places, they kidnap people, they press down any activity, they're trying to speak with leader of opinion, journalists, activists, local politicians, people who have big businesses, so have influence in the city, take them in a basement of legal or illegal place of detention, torture them, put them down and scare them, do something with their families, and exactly like lots of people just disappeared. We don't know where they are. So now we find 4 big places of such torturing. It's legal place. It's one of them need to be destroyed because they was total mined, so we can even demine it. We need to just blow it up. And now we have 38 cases of torturing, which exactly we have in our database. I mean, Tribunal for Putin initiative, and we think it will be more because now we don't have a permission working totally in whole the territory of Kherson. Now we just have information from people who now inside the Kherson because they are locals, and they give such information. What we will find? We find a lot of killed people, because every time when Russian forces coming everywhere, it's just a question how many and how long people stay in the occupied. You heard about Bucha. It's more than 500 people was killed. And if you will speak next village after the Bucha, I don't know, like 20 kilometers. So this village have 800 people who staying during the occupation in village. 50 of them was killed. So every time it's just a question how many people stay in such place. Master scales always depend on this.
Yep.
Something.
Yep. Go. So talking about Kherson region and we all know that the aim of the Russian army and Russia, all propaganda and political system is to destroy Ukrainian nation at all, to destroy Ukrainian people. It's all declared very briefly, very clearly by President himself, by his political minions, and etc., etc. And looking at the situation in Kherson, we saw and we heard about killing people, torturing them, sexual abuse against all sexes, all kind of ages. It doesn't matter to Russian soldier at all. Also, we heard about devastating policy on destruction of grain holders, destruction of all like special things to collect grains, to make some harvest working. They stole it or destroy it, doesn't matter really, because they want to create a situation where the Ukrainian people couldn't survive at all during the winter period. Especially looking at this one policy of destruction of infrastructure, electricity, water, etc., etc. Just today I saw the message in mass media saying that Russian missiles struck the water supply base that were supplying water to Kherson, Mykolaiv and Zaporizhia regions. So these regions are without water right now, as situated. Kherson region gets electricity only today, and today Russian missiles already strikes one more electricity base, so they without electricity for a long time, but not now really for long. Because the policy is to destruct, we rebuild it, and the next moment the Russians destruct it once again. So we need more supplies for resources, etc., etc. Also looking to another point is destruction of culture, heritage, cultural identity of Ukrainians. What they do, they just physically destroyed the monuments, they physically destroyed like everything they saw and that belongs to Ukrainian culture, to Ukrainian history. They forbid Ukrainians to speak Ukrainian, forbid Ukrainians to sing Ukrainian anthems, etc., etc. We saw it a lot of really cases from the occupied territories, especially in Crimea. And also we saw these messages, and we see the proof after the territory was liberated of stolen items from the museums and galleries. They just clean everything up, from the small piece of artifacts to databases, computers, and some paper notes of workers of these museums, and they move it to Crimea territory. And this is really devastating. We saw these policies, we see especially in educational system, because a lot of people who left there was no way to survive if you don't work with Russians. So the only way to pay for your houses, to pay for your food, to pay for your health, it was to work with Russians. They have no other choice to survive. And there are a lot of teachers, professors, other students left there, and they started to work in schools with Russian educational system. And those messages we found out in Russian textbooks that was provided for these territories was about there is no Ukraine, there is enemy in the USA, in the Western world, you need to join Russian armed forces because it's the best way to survive in your life. University is a miserable place, you will just burn down your life to the death, but Russian armed forces is the best place to serve your life, the best place to serve your homeland, is the best way to prove that you are a real patriot to your homeland. And this is whole texts of all textbooks, from the history to culture to music books, for example, to some mathematics also textbooks. In every single textbook they put this nonsense. So the kids, the teachers, seniors, they all influenced totally by the Russian propaganda in every single aspect of their life. And so was in Kherson. And now we have the problem on how to rebuild the lost connections of those people with Ukrainian, their identity with Ukrainian, some history, because they totally in some, I don't know, labyrinth of their mind where they need to find out the way how to survive and psychological stay calm and safe and healthy. Yeah,
So another problem that is happening on the occupied territories of Kherson region is the forced deportation of people and especially kids. So Russian forces tell the people that live on the territories of the Kherson region that the only way for them to be safe is to evacuate the territory of the Russian Federation. So they do not give the people the choice to safely move through humanitarian corridors to the territory of the Ukraine, controlled by Ukrainian government. And so this is a crime recognized under international law. Another dimension is the forced transfer of children from the territory of Kherson region to the territory of Russian Federation. Especially they transfer children put into the medical facilities, into the orphan houses, or even they ask families to transfer their children for recreation purposes to the territory of Russian Federation, and then after the time passes, they deny parents to return their children to their home, and parents cannot do anything to return their children because they are afraid that Russians would put some pressure on them because they live in the occupied territories. So this is a practice that Russian Federation was putting into life into other territories of Ukraine, into the Lugansk, Donetsk and Kharkiv region, and this should be condemned on the international level, and our organization especially put a submission to the International Criminal Court on Maria Lvova-Belova, the Russian ombudsman for children's rights, who herself helps this unlawful transfer of Ukrainian children to Russian Federation happen.
I'm just added one concrete case. We have orphan house for children with disabilities who from birth have such disabilities. My university have a connections with this orphan house. We support them like more than 10 years, and the alumni call us and told about that at the beginning that was group of 70 people of this orphan house, and next one 13. They was removed, forcibly displaced in the territory of Crimea, and they put them in psychological hospital. So, and any possibility taken back now, we have a full names, we don't have, and for understanding even adoption, like exactly this so-called ombudsman doing with children from Mariupol, even adoption citizen of other countries, like children from other countries, it's broken law, not only Russia Federation because they have their own rules, but for Ukraine it's same broken law because it's if somebody foreigners want to adopt Ukrainian children, they need to have like check and have a possibility to have a connection with their culture and so forth. Now they try and do it for each children's. They do that even with Russian children because first lesson of this year in September was about how really cool be in Russian army for children and like how old is it?
7.
Like 6-7 years. So it's and same they doing with Ukrainian children because they don't give them possibility to have any connection with Ukrainian identity.
Can I just add one sub-question?
Mhm.
And so you can answer the question. Can I add something? Because Kherson was occupied since March to November, so by far the longest time from all the areas which were retaken. And so what you are describing, do you know that from Kiev Oblast and Kharkiv Oblast, which were not occupied long, do you know that? Is it the same? Or is it something special for Kherson? Which also means that what you can expect in the areas which are not yet occupied or which are still occupied, Zaporizhia, Mariupol. So, so please, can you say something to this and answer the first question?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I wanted to add to your first question, what did we found in Kherson? We found our people. They were waited for Ukrainian army for this month, and they sent via all possible and impossible channels messages, and they hide our flags because it was forbidden and it could be death penalty. It's ticket, like one-way ticket to some cells or to deportation, but they still waited for Ukraine, and it's very touching as for me to see these videos of greetings of Kherson people, and special pain, as colleague said, that nature, not only our people but our nature influenced badly as well. So, for example, for any Russian, it's a proud to steal something from Bucha, from Kiev region. We understood that they are proud to steal a washing machine or I don't know, some things for utilities. But for Kherson region, for example, they stolen animals from private and state zoos. For example, a family of raccoons, big one, little one, they just stole, and one of Russian well-known propaganda providers, she was so happy to share in her Twitter, I believe, that her friend was so lucky to steal our raccoon, and we will revenge for our raccoon, be sure. Because we don't want to leave nobody behind us, especially our raccoons and animals, anybody. This is main difference in many important things, because we do care about both our people, our animals. Because, for example, if open my phone with this conversation, so recently I had conversation with a girl from Kherson. She's out of electricity, out of water, out of anything, but she cooked very simple food because she wanted to share it with stray cats. And when she came to this stray cats place, it was appeared two peacocks, these birds from this zoo. So they escaped from Russians, but they were very hungry. So she shared her very limited food with cats and peacocks, and this is how we Ukrainians support each other. Regarding the weather situation in Kherson, Kharkiv and Kiev region are different or not, and it's complicated because, for the one hand, as we say, the period of occupation was not the same, and of course, due to mathematical logic, okay, we are in philosophy faculty, maybe it's not a good idea to refer to math, but still. It's longest time it's Kherson region, so the most number of violation are there, but still in Kherson region we could find, maybe unfortunately, we could find a lot of things that we haven't found. We don't want to minimize those damages that every region has, because everybody knows Bucha because it was first, but unfortunately not the last. So in every single city it was situation of mass torturing, disappearances and everything, and as we see as human rights defenders, representatives, we need to document every single step for every single violation, and we want to bring justice to all victims, and we want that all perpetrators feel bad, because for the moment they feel very good. They are okay. They a little bit suffered from some sanctions, but for high ranked, but they could feel that in every single step they will be responsible if they violate the law. This is the main purpose, and this is why we want to highlight that there is a need to establish special tribunal in parallel with the process in the ICC, International Criminal Court, and of course to bring all of them to be responsible for people and for raccoons as well.
Also following the question about how different, for base knowing, like Kiev region, Chernihiv and Sumy region was in a very active combat zone. It was no system established, there was no like security by the Russians there was no like, there was already torturing camera cells, but still it was not the systems that Russians provided on the Crimea Peninsula or in eastern part of Ukraine that was previously occupied for years. Now, seeing the situation in Kharkiv region and Kherson region, we have a long time of occupation there, and we see the system working there. We see how Russian do this cleansing of territories out of Ukrainian nationals, out of Ukrainian symbols, Ukrainian everything. You speak Ukrainian, you'll be killed. You speak, you sing Ukrainian anthem, you'll killed. You
have historical book.
Yeah, historical book of Ukraine, you'll be killed. You have your flag, you killed. Like there's no other way to survive there if you not collaborate with them or you hide everything Ukrainian out of them outside. For Kharkiv region, there was a belief among the Russians that this region is potentially theirs because everyone speaks their Russian language. So they're more close to the border of the Russians, they have deep connections with the Russian territory, not historical but also political, and there are a lot of relatives from the Kharkiv region living in Russian, and Russians relatives from Ukraine are living in Kharkiv region because of the connection to the border. So they were believing that this territory will be easily to be captured, they will be easily to establish their system, so they were feeling free for these reasons there. But still there was a chances to be kicked out very much because of the intensive Ukrainian army power that was supplied by Western parts of countries and partners, etc. But talking about Kherson region, Sasha already mentioned that this region was politically very important to the Russians because of the connections with the Crimea on the land, not by the sea, not the Crimean bridge connection, but very physical one connection. And also this region was in their theory of establishing the connection to the Odessa region, which is also have some ports, which have some great system already work with weapons as well. And they were believing, and they really were saying that Kherson will be Russians all, like every time, like without an infinity, forever. Yeah, forever. And they were believing that there will be no punishment for them, for their doings there. They were believing that Ukrainian army will be very weak for this region because they will be afraid of striking Kherson with their missiles. They were not afraid that Ukrainian army will put some missile on Russian so-called territory of Kherson. So the systems there were more severe than Kharkiv regions and Chernihiv region, Sumy region, Kiev region. The tortures there were more severe. They were following every aspect of Ukrainian citizens. They were following every aspect of common life of Ukrainians there and killed it in like from the normal way to some super under historical way of some Cro-Magnon and some Neanderthals and some other people ancestor of us. And we saw this from the messages we were cutting out from Kherson region before it was liberated. The same messages go right now came to us from Mariupol, from Berdyansk, from Melitopol. We saw the Russians are feeling very freely there because they believe still this Ukrainian army will now have power to go for these cities, to liberate them. But we saw these satellites, pictures of huge graves, of a lot of graves near Mariupol. We saw it was counted about 300,000 people who was already massacred there, and we expected to see more in the future after the liberation. Of course, it will be in the future.
Yeah. One important difference is that Russian forces prepared to be kicking out from there.
Yeah.
That's why they're stealing all what you can imagine from infrastructure. So now in their media, they're trying to running out the messages that when Russia was there, that was heating, that was electricity, that was internet, and nobody told them that exactly they're stealing now all the equipment. They're stealing even buses and trolley buses from the city. So because of this, they have longer period of preparing to get out from there. They steal all what they see. And not only like in personal way, like raccoons, but hold the systematically what exactly simple citizen need. It's not give the any opportunity to be stronger for army. No, it's just a simple people need it for ambulance, for example. They take ambulance cars. So same situation in all the other territory. They trying to shell such points like our electricity station or our heating station or something like this. But here in Kherson, they steal it and now shelling again Kherson and trying to show that when Russia was there, that was better. Sure. If Russia just get out from there, it will be much better. Yes.
Okay, so let's still stay in Kherson, but let's get to the actual work or investigating. Because I guess the investigation is in full swing in Kherson, on the ground, right? Because you have access, the memories and recollections are as fresh as they can be, the evidences are there, not spoiled. So, what do your colleagues on the ground, what are they actually doing now in Kherson? And what have you been doing before Kherson was retaken from the open sources, from probably some sources on the ground, right, who were there? So, the question is, how do you investigate the war crimes, and which is now happening in Kherson the most?
First of all, I need to talk about, we have two steps, because documenting it's not same like investigation. Investigation officially in the territory of Ukraine can do only prosecutor office or police or special services, or now it's joint investigation team. It's huge team. Maybe you heard about MH17, and that in Ukrainian whole the 8 years working joint investigation team from Netherlands, Australia, Ukraine, America, some specialists from different countries. That was 50 people. International Criminal Court have now in this joint investigation team in the territory of Ukraine and more than 43 person. That was a previous week, and then joined to other separate criminalists and investigators from different countries, for example, Germany, from Lithuania, from France, all of them coming. Why they doing it? Why exactly international investigation coming to us? Because it's a huge scope of episodes of war crimes. Any national system can cover it. It's like General Prosecutor Office told about that it's more than 50,000 potential case of war crimes. Why potential? Because only court can give this final characteristic that it was crimes. Same, for example, our investigation is not our documentation process give us now 26,000 of potential case of war crimes. It's altogether kidnapping, raping, killing people, shelling in the civilian structures, all so forth. So we have such like initiative Tribunal for Putin, which joined the 30 organizations from whole the Ukraine who cover it. And exactly our teams from Kherson who working there, it's like groups, they were there like before 3 months, and now they back there. And first what they doing, trying to find the people. A lot of relatives lost contact with the people who are there. They are not exactly, are they was dying? Are they, something happened with them? Do they have a possibility, for example, escape from Kherson because of like occupation through the Crimea Peninsula or not? And like first week, I think, our group just going, we send the address and they just going to look, find some contact with relatives, people outside of Kherson region. So after this, you just started like make a photo and recording all what you see. People in Ukraine usually open to speak. Only one category of crimes which they not speak really easy, it's sexual crimes. All other, even about, if they start to be even witness of some killing or something like this, they speak about that. So freedom of speech is exactly one of our, I don't know, national idea. So, and here it's one of the possibility how free they are feeling when they describe what happened with them. They start to be like easier feeling themselves. That's why we have huge numbers of information. Sometimes it's a lot of emotion, not so many like effects. Because documentation, it's first of all, you separate all what happened during the war and exactly episode of war crimes. Not all what happened during the war, it's war crimes. Sometimes it's just the terribles of war. Sometimes you don't know, that's why you put in the need to be checked. And every time when we have any testimonies, we need to have 3 different sources, independent sources, which we confirm about these episodes. After this, these episodes, like, we think that it's confirmed totally. So in this way, in this way exactly, we have 26,000 of episodes, and so a lot of in continue of checking in this. So I think, but it's still just back that Kherson is shelling by the rocket. So it's mean that if you're going somewhere, keep the testimonies or keep the evidence. That means that every 2 hours you can be heard air siren, so you need to hide somewhere, or it can be because in Kherson a lot of time you don't have light or you don't have internet. That sometimes we have a special app in telephone, so it can not working, because in this region exactly it can be a problem. So now one of the biggest problem for state is back base services to Kherson, that people have a normal heating, internet connections, water, and same situation. For example, in my native Nikolaev, like half of year they have only technical water in their pipes, so they can drink it, for example. So it's all of this situation not give you possibility to make a conclusions. So if you have any testimony about someone told you that we sitting in the basement like in the kindergarten and rocket shelling exactly this building. So people sitting in the basement, can you give what exactly data, some maybe time, maybe what they heard, but they can make a conclusion who do that exactly. That's why it's not investigation. Investigation gives some conclusions. In this way, we just put this, and we not make separation. For example, sometimes someone asks us, is that Ukrainian army do something? Do you will document it or not? Yes, we do. We documented all, not separated if who exactly do that. Sometimes people can say that if it was personally attack. But if we will speak about shelling, for example, in this way, it's need to be investigated detail. But for understanding in exactly cases of personal attack, we have 2 situations when that was Ukrainian soldiers, and in this way we appeal to administrative management of their troops exactly, and there was punishment for understanding that it's a war, can happen anything, but for action of Ukrainian soldier, we can react. We can change it like immediately. But Russians showing that war crimes in their politics make a war started from 90s. So same situation with the Chechnya, Syria, Georgia, and Moldova. Because they was not punished there, we have a Ukraine now.
So also talking about documentation, there's two coalitions in Ukraine right now working on the ground. There we have a coalition tribunal for Putin, which is Sasha organization is a part of, and the other one is called Ukrainian 5 AM coalition, which is also consists of nearly 33 organizations, I guess, NGO from all parts of Ukraine, and some of them are dealing with documentation process on the ground, on the fields. They go with the missions, they talk to people, they took photo of everything they saw there, they do like every aspect of the work with bulletproof jackets, with helmets, with satellite phones because of the connections problems and etc. And they come back and they put every single data in the general database for all these organizations. And in this one case, our organization sees this collected data. I'm talking right now about my organization, and we build the legal case on it. And also we go for the open sources, internet, media, official statements of Russian officials. For example, talking about this kidnapping situations, we look through official channels of Russian ombudsman kids where she's directly talking about the crimes she committed without any fear to be punished, because the only one fear she has is to be pronounced wrongly on sanction list, honestly. So this also was her direct citation, by the way, from the Herald channel. And then we collect the information from the open sources. We scrap it directly to some international protocols, so the legal process will be so correctly without any violations and sent to the International Criminal Court or to other legal or quasi-legal bodies of international community. The same goes for the national court system, because sometimes open sources will be enough for the crime to be committed and for the crime to be investigated and decided in the court system. If we are talking especially about the propaganda cases or hate speech cases, because this is one which we will look for in mass media sources, especially because Russians are not afraid to talk about it. They're proud to be like perpetrators. They proudly talk about stealing, they proudly talk about killing, making sexual abuse against women, children, and men. They proudly state about the numbers, so we can look everywhere and find the official information on their sites of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, sites of Defense, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Culture, State Hermitage Museum. Everyone posted about it without any fear to be punished, really. It's funny to see it. Yeah.
And one more thing that we didn't cover it, so one part of our work, for example, in my project that I'm doing my work, so in case of deliberation or even if the territory is not occupied still, so main question is where people, civilian hostages, where they are, because it's a big hypocrisy, to be honest, because when Russian they steal people, they not only take them as hostages and they torture them, they steal them as usual to the Crimea, and they accuse them in both committing international terrorism, and it could be punished according to the Russian legislation up to life sentence, or to how to say, like non-confirmation of importance of special operation. So Ukrainians are not who is not supporting this special operation could be punished through criminal procedure. For me, I'm a lawyer, so for me it's very weird to use criminal procedure as it is against people whom you are stealing, and those people are facing with real terms in prison, in Russian prisons, and part of our work is to collect information from relatives and to trying to find in connection in some different ways their relatives, whether they are alive or dead, or maybe they are accused with this international terrorism, and to try to provide some minimum legal aid support and to make them understand that they're not we do remember about them, and we could do everything for deliberating them.
Okay, and last question before I'll let you ask questions is all organizations have started to deal with war crimes after the year 2014, and now you have some expertise, I guess, you do, but in 2014 it must have been kind of novelty for you, because you don't really expect to deal with war crimes. So tell us more about your first years. How do you familiarize yourself with this topic, which must have been unexpected for you in the first months and years?
In 2014, Center for Civil Liberties opened Euromaidan SOS hotline. I think in the May, we feel differences in appealing what questions people call us. We accept more than 16,000 different calls during this period, and biggest number of this was from Crimea. That's why we decided going there like a field mission in March. So exactly we were there when happened so-called referendum and all this. And after this we understood that we need documented all what happened, because we feel that Ukrainian is weak now like a system, because so-called president escaped, Minister of Foreign Affairs escaped, Minister of Interior escaped, prosecutor escaped, all of them, they escaped. So nobody can give the order, for example, like guard exactly Crimea or for army started fighting or something like that. So it's not, I'm not sure that can we do that fighting, but even nobody can give the order. So we decided, our Center for Civil Liberties started documented. We started documenting in Crimea, and after this in Donbass. So last time in exactly Donetsk I was in April of 8 and 11, that was so-called referendum in Donetsk. After this, all the possibility going exactly in occupied territory for Ukrainians, civil society was closed. Our names was in the shooting list in the each checkpoint. So exactly, that's why we understood that if your name is Googling, so it's a problem for your work. And that's why we for example, started collaborate with Russian human rights defenders who support us. They coming from Russian territory to the occupied territory on Donbass and have a possibility 2 years collect information for us there. One of them, it's Memorial. Maybe you heard about this organization, which now totally banned in Russia Federation. And here in in Prague, you have Czech Memorial. It's a part of International Memorial Network. So same situation with Crimea, Russian and Belarus human rights defenders joining the mission, and exactly they collect information there and bring us to us. But we can work in outside with open source, with relatives who comes out from there, and in grey zone. Exactly. So we documented, for example, in Donbass, more than 83 places of illegal detention where people was torturing. More than 5,000 people coming past through all of this basement in Donbass. Izolatia, one of the biggest and unique place of it's special system, it's special jail for torturing people, which before that was a center of modern art. So they have exactly screens, and people who sitting in the cells watch what happened, how tortured people in the basement, because it was a part of their system. About that, Sasha wrote the book, so you can read it like in detail. He spent there, he spent in hostaging 2.5 years. So all of this, nobody can prepare for that, seriously. But we understood that we need to do that. If you can change something, you need to document it and bring all this information till the moment when it can be punished, doing like this. That's why we started documented war crimes. We was in Slavyansk. Maybe you heard about this city. It's a small city who first was attacked and kept by group of Girkin or Strelkov. So we was there after four days of releasing Strelkov going from Slavyansk to Donetsk and all of these forces. So in that moment we was just a lucky bastard story, because we don't have any instruction of security. We don't know nothing about mines or something this. But we collect all the documents which Strelkov left in his so-called headquarters. That was building of SBU, it's our secret service, and they mostly, because police is not exist in that moment in Slavyansk, that was only 35 people and they guarded other object. They can make investigation on something like this. Our police, our prosecutor office, nobody was prepared on this. So system was collapsed, and we bring 6 boxes to Kherson, to Kharkov, and after this we separated, brings a special service, because there, for example, was list of people who was accused against such called regime of Strelkov, and so that was list people who was shooting down because of this accusation. And all of these documents we bring, and it's still part of criminal cases open during the Donetsk period. After this, Ukrainian organization create first such coalition that was 17 different organizations. It's called Justice for Peace in Donbass. You can find like website of these coalitions, and these coalitions like oriented exactly documenting war crimes in Donbass. We trying to show all of this to European society, but for European society, I think Donbass was too far. And that was place with, in 2015, I think they push out all the international journalists who before that was, and that started to be like vacuum of information, what happened inside. We have only peoples who suffering there and coming after this, and the territory of Ukraine controlled by government, and give us such testimony. And our General Prosecutor Office creates special department only in 2019. So from 2014 till 2019, 5 years, it's only documented war crimes making only by human rights defenders organization. And now we're very good prepared for all what happened 24 February. Even General Prosecutor Office, 20th of February, make a big meeting with all the organization who before that documented war crimes, and we speak about plan, if it's happened, what we need to do. In that moment, so 24 February, we have 17 different platforms where the people can send a testimony. Through the Telegram, through the Facebook, through the emails, everything. So that's why every day we have thousands of such episodes, thousands of facts. People give this testimony. Sure, it still need to be built like a case, but that's why international investigators comes to Ukraine before the war is ended. That's like first time in the history of International Criminal Court. Okay, and it's okay.
Yes, so our organization was founded in 2013, just a few months before the occupation of Crimea started. It was founded in Sevastopol, Crimea, and our main experts are coming from there. But after the annexation of Crimea happened in 2014, our team moved to Kyiv and started to work on the problems connected with the occupation of Crimea. Mainly it's the change of demographic composition of the peninsula, property rights, prisoners' rights, and cultural property issues. But after the full-scale invasion of Ukraine started on 4th February of this year, we switched our focus to the whole territory of Ukraine. So we are now working with war crimes, crimes against humanity, happening on all of the regions of Ukraine. And our main focus, the project that we've been working for already 6 months, is the genocide project. So we are trying to collect all the evidence to prove that what is happening in Ukraine now can be called a genocide.
And our organization was created 10 years ago, and mostly it was dedicated to raising awareness about human rights as it is, because to be honest, before the 2014, to be human rights defenders, it was not cool, really, because I remember when I graduated from the university and I shared with my graduates that I'm doing human rights. They said, "What, human rights? What is it? Like, I'm, I don't know, a prosecutor, I'm a judge, maybe it's cool." And so our organization did some informational campaigns about human rights. It's a new, it's new trends. And in 14, as many of us after the Revolution of Dignity, we found out that we need to do something in addition that we are doing, and ZMINA in particular, together with other organizations, participated in watchdog activities, how we say it. So because after shooting off Maidan, it was some investigation and even court consideration of persons who shoot, and we wrote like articles, and we visited this court hearing because it was not so interesting for society after some time. And it's normal to be tired, maybe, and we do understand that maybe Ukrainian, let's say, news, maybe it's very tired to read, but we are living in this. Of course, we have repeated that we are on this shooting lists, and we will never visit this golden ruins of Russia, and it's very hard to understand. But as we said, if you are in this wanted list of Russia, it's something to be proud of, because only normal people are there, and it was no question whether we need to do something or not, because it's our country, it's our people, and we need to do everything that we could do. And first, some people could evacuate and start working. From the end of February, for example, some decided to stay, some experienced a lot of things that maybe we could share after, because it's a little bit, scary. We don't want to share it for the moment, but yeah, to be honest, personally, I have a dream to be, a lawyer in a discrimination case, or in a case of, violation of traffic rules, whatever. But I couldn't do it, because we could do it only after, maybe I'll have a garden, or a private zoo, whatever, but only after everything will be documented and everybody will be punished. So maybe never. Maybe I will old. Let's see.
Questions from you on dreams, raccoons, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I was wondering if you could just talk about the elected Ukrainian authorities, and also perhaps just some state authorities, like school principals, teachers, workers of the post office. Like, what you've seen from the recently liberated areas, and what you suspect is happening in the currently occupied areas. like, so for example, you know, there were some stories about mayors that were kidnapped. But what has happened with most of these people, like the local leaders? Have they been threatened? Have they been abducted? Were they just fired? Could you speak about that a little bit?
We have a few cases where such people was killed exactly because we have one testimony of the person who was a teacher of Ukrainian language, so like Dash told about that all the Ukrainians, it's a marker that you can be attacked. But it's not only about that. You know that Russian occupied authority, they wanted that teachers teach Ukrainian people in Russian programs. So you can accept or not accept it. So it's a big question, yeah, that you exactly don't know with the liberation coming, how you need to decide it. So do you need to say, no, I will not teach and, I don't know, escape from region or something like that. So it's a big question, and that's why we don't have a total accusation if people accept it and going to the, like teachers going to the school. But it's a big question, for example, for director of school, who accept this program and push exactly teachers to do that, or because it's a collaboration. It's like, I know that collaboration in English don't have same meaning like collaboracja in Ukraine, because in collaboracja in Ukraine that's just like negative understanding. That's when you collaborate with enemy, exactly. So it's a big question about such people who don't have administrative meaning, who don't have an administrative function. Because for doctors it's okay, they need like healing all the people, but for administrative, like director of hospital, it's a question how they collaborate or not collaborate. Same with the teachers. So we have this one of them, Victoria Andrusha, was released because she was kidnapped from Chernihiv region, and they took her through the territory of Belarus to the Russian jail, and only now she was released during the one of exchanges. So what will happen with these people? It needs to be, as for me, it needs to be discussed in whole the society, because all other examples in whole the world, it can be commission of truth. It needs to be speaked. People need explain what they make some choice or not. People need to feel it, accept or not accept, because peace, it's not only when we release and finish the shooting. Peace, it's when society can continue normally healthy, neighborships or like friendships, all other relationships inside the society. For this, we need to discuss what happened, what decision happened, and it can be only one solutions. The whole, all what not dying or not kill the Russians during the occupations will be enemies or something like this. No, so it's my opinion.
So talking basically about like this educational system, in particular about the people working in the system. If we are talking Russians when they occupied some city or some village, doesn't really matter. First one who they approach is like political one, law enforcement, and then they approach educational system workers, because they know the power of the system. They know how to influence people and how to build the society they need for their some made aims and etc. So what they do, they approach every single leader or director of kindergarten, school, university, institute, college, doesn't matter, every educational building, and they propose to them one thing: you work with us or you will be kicked out of your work, you will be kicked out of any survival matters you have in your life right now, like food, drinks, normal condition, healthy condition of living. And if people not agree to their proposal, they could not accept their proposal. They could start threatening them. They could start to persecute them. They could make some things that these people will finally accept their conditions. And what they do, They make special attention to teachers of Ukrainian language, history, and literature. They started to re-educate them to the Russian normatives. They started to say that there is no Ukrainian language, there is only Russian, Russian. And what we saw right now, there's a huge amounts of books which called The Trail of Friendship, and what they dedicated to is the friendship of some parts of Ukrainian territory with Russian. So kids in Ukrainian territory, in Russian territory, doesn't matter really because these books is everywhere on Russian Federation system, is taught that there is no Ukraine, there is no Belarus, there is no other countries. There is one country which called USSR. It was collapsed because of America, and now we need to rebuild this case one more time. So there's a trade of friendship, and friendship is built with weapon, and weapon is only for the Russian armed forces. And that's what kids are taught, and teachers really do not have chances to turn out, because if you let without job, you have no money, no food, no healthy supply for them, nothing really. They just, I don't know, like become some beggar, really beggar. And you can escape the territory, but if you are director of the school, of university, you couldn't really, because there's special attention paid to those people, because they are leaders of educational system in this region. They have some influence on political will of this region. And if you are trying to escape, you will be killed or tortured or kidnapped, or like people disappear really easily with Russian hands of help. So if you accept, you're working, you'll be alive. If you're not accept, you can escape, try to escape, or you'll be change the work. For example, a lot of people in Mariupol, they changed from the educational system work to some very hard work, like really, we call it in Ukrainian like black work in fields, where you digging out some graves, where working by the hand, you digging out graves for your previously citizens, co-citizens. You trying to reconstruct Russian technique so they can put missile on the Ukraine and other cities, etc., etc. So there's literally so small ways to survive for those people that they just accept, and Russians then took them to the Russian territory, re-educate them, come back to Ukraine, and they started to work with Russian system. And it's really, really sad cases, because right now we don't know how to help these people. They are in the informational vacuum. They have no access to informational diversity, really.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big problem, because they really believe that Ukrainian system,
Weak?
no, not weak, they just throw them away, because they're like something that could be thrown away, because Mariupol is hard to liberate, so Ukrainians will close their eyes on them. That's what Russians say to them, and they really believe, because there are no other sources. And they started to collaborate in negative sense with occupational forces, occupational powers. Yeah. So I think I answered your question. We answered? Yeah. Cool.
I have so many questions. I put three of them here. Well, the first of all is you guys travel a lot, as I understand. Do you? I just wonder. You were talking about well, what you are doing right now is talking to society outside of Ukraine, right? European society, I don't know, like Western world society. Do you see differences with reactions on this topic between the outside society and Ukrainians? Because normally when you are very close to the subject, you don't really see it. You know, it's something which was probably happening like from 2014. You know, a lot of people didn't really react to the war as they have to react to the war. You know, of course, right now more people are affected, but still, all of my family is in Ukraine, and it's like surreal. You know that the war is happening, but instead of like worrying about like more bigger problems for Ukraine, you kind of go back to like regular things, like I don't know, going to some sort of celebrations and stuff. I don't know. And I feel that people outside, they worry about this more. So that's like first question, the difference. Then the second one might be, I'll try to be fast. Well, what you are doing is, the other question is, I do work with a lot of refugees here who look for work. I try to help them within one company. It's becoming more and more complicated, but I hear a lot of stories, and from here I have like two other questions. First of them, do you think, can you make any predictions of how many people would want to come back? And actually the thing what you are doing, the justice, the human rights, is very important for this thing, because people would come back if they would feel safe. And you feel safe when you know that people who did wrong are punished. So I see that you are part of this big, actually working for future for our people to come back, you know, and for people like, for the other countries to invest in Ukraine, they have to invest into people. So we do need our people to come back. And the third one is probably the personal question: how do you guys cope? Me by myself, I work when I hear so many stories. Sometimes it's hard to, you know, you need some sort of source. So do you provide any of the volunteers or people who work in the field with some sort of like mental health support, or is it more like when you work on the field you don't think about it, and maybe when you get out of it, then it starts affecting you? Thank you very much. Maybe answer at least one of those questions. Thank you.
Okay, so I will start trying to cover everything.
Sorry.
First one, no one wants to hear about war. War is very sensitive topic to like everyone. No one wants to hear about dead bodies, some parts of human body flying over your head. In some other cases, sexual abuse especially is very sensitive topic to talk about. When you talk about this to Ukrainian people, they understand you fully. They support you. It's normal situation because whole country is going through this process. But when you talk to European communities, you see from the government, from people, very huge support. We're very grateful for this one, because you understand the situation, even if you don't want to hear it every day, as Ukrainians hear and see it. But sometimes there's still this sense of feelings left when you are too tired to hear about the stories. You want to hear about fluffy unicorns flying around the rainbow, or you don't want to hear really about sexual abuse and human bodies excavated from the graves in Izum city or other cities in Ukraine. But there's a reality we're living right now, and we want you also to understand and support us, not only financial and by resources, but also mentally, because it's very important us how do we cope with it. Second question, I guess it was about refugees. Yeah, I read a lot of statistics, and I saw that mostly around 50-60% of people will go to Ukraine, come back, because there is homeland, because they want to live here in Ukraine, they want to come back to see their places they were born, they connected to. Yes, there are cases when you have no chances left to go for Ukraine because your house was destroyed, your relatives, everyone was killed. You don't want these places to remember about the tragedy you went through, so you will stay in some safe place out of. But still some people willing to return to Ukraine, to other regions of it, not to your homeland region. And answering your third question, which is about coping. Really, on the second day of full-scale invasion, I understood that black humor is the best way to go through every aspect of this life, because, literally, it's very tragic humor of Ukrainians, but literally some days ago in our offices, our organization, when the last missile on Ukraine was by Russian hit, we heard this sound of strikes, we heard the sound of missiles in Kiev, and we were sitting in office and laughing who will be killed the first, one who is sitting near the window or one who is sitting near the safe wall. And this is humor, basic humor of organization of Ukrainians. We have a lot of other, not so black tragic humors, but still, this is one way how to cope. Also speaking to people, communication, coffee time, and we still have working services of meal and theaters and other things, which is very common life sense bring you to you. And this is how we live through these major events of our country, because we lived through already three revolutions, I guess, two financial crises, one coup d'etat, and I guess some other things, which
And
are
90s.
oh yeah. So we are kind of adaptable to all kinds of situations, and we're feeling like a very happy nation.
And just added that my same like me ages, like Crimea Tatarians people, they was burned in Central Asia because Soviet Unions don't give them relatives back to Crimea. So we have a different situation in our past. I'm started from last one. How we exactly what support us inside. It's a big question. If you are not killed by rockets, so you need to continue with the work. So it's a really simple choices. If you have a water in pipe now and you have a syringe, better start washing the head and after this, because if it's not coming inside your house, that you need to continue to your usual stuff, because it's part of resilience. Part of resilience, it's part of our daily life. So it's like every time you have these questions, and we try and it's like total philosophy inside the Ukrainian society now. Don't put something like next day, last of, and it's like when I finish that, no, best dress today, like best taste today, best people around you today, all what you're dreaming starting now. So I don't know who we are will be after war, but now we are really productive nation, It's true. So do we need after this rehabilitation, psychological rehabilitation? Yes, totally. We need a descent of psychiatric, psychotherapists, psychologists, and so forth. Now we can do therapy. We can only support. That's why, for example, my team every week have a meeting with psychologists and have a private psychologist meeting. But it's same when you prepare to meeting with your psychologist and your psychologist don't have a light, internet, and nothing. So it can be a problem. Second, about refugees. I don't think that Ukrainians left you anything, They coming to check here, and you will have a connections with your Ukrainian friends forever. Ukrainians build businesses in all the connections. They use all the connections they have during the refugee time. They use all the relatives connection they take it here during the period, because it's Ukrainians. They implement all the possibility which they have even during the war. So it's not about just come back. A lot of people will live for 2, 3, 5 countries. It's okay, it's normal. It's a part of what exactly European Union gives you. Don't have the borders, have a possibility to be change your places. So Ukrainians will be just a part of that. Because before that, before 2014, inside the Ukrainian, it's total. We moved a lot. Most of us, we are not live. Like more than 30%, it's you calculated. Your organization make a research about that more than 30% of exactly Ukrainians not live by address where we have registration. So not there where they was registered. So it's usual for us. It's not will be a problem. But all of the people dreaming about back to Ukraine. Sure, maybe they dreaming about back to their lives, and when you even back to Ukraine now, you can find this life. So it's partly it's emotional points. So but Ukrainians will be a part of society. Czech exactly have this part of your during your history when Yangus was like a big move, create a big move inside inside the religion, issues. Czech was one of the biggest refugee group in Germany, for example, and so forth. So it's a part of each nation's history. So now it's a part of Ukrainian history. And first, which you started, reminded?
Difference between
Okay.
projects.
So it's a question that inside you quiet. So outside you worried because you don't see how it's look. Sometimes it strike in other part of streets and you don't hear it because in that moment you're in the Zoom because you have internet, so you need these Zooms. So it's not meaning that we are finless or something like that. No, it's just because it looks like outside that it's terrible. But exactly, how many of you know biggest war after Second World War? How you think? Where is it happened?
Vietnam. In Congo.
Yeah, it's true. Second Congolese war. It's 6 million people die. It's not big news was here in Europe or in Ukraine. Ukrainians totally don't know about that. So a lot of us, we don't know about whole the world around we even have internet. So it's not about that we are don't interested in something, but it's not problem which you solve in the morning. In the morning, I think you solve other problems. Do I have some permission in my career? Do I need like pass exam? So in these problems really important in your life. So Ukrainian problems and war exactly flew in for your life, but not every day you feel it. So you need to have education, like example for this faculty to understand that. But exactly, most of us, we don't think about it every day. Ukrainians need it because it's part of our daily life. But it's okay, because somewhere need to be quiet people with live normal life, because for us it's important. We want to be safe after we win this war.
We are running out of time, so briefly.
Yeah.
Only third question about coping. Of course, I wish to share with you that alcohol helps, but it doesn't. We checked it. To be honest, it's the same as Sasha said, so we use all opportunities that we have, and my personal experience that I bought a lot of red lipstick, and I always wear good underwear because I do want that in case of autopsy this expert will be happy to see me. So this is typical situation, and no sugar after 6 because I need to be good in this table. So this is how do we live, and we like it because as colleague said, we have no choice. And after this, the richest person in Ukraine will be psychological specialist, because we will bring all our money that we are donating now, because it's main, our financial aim to donate as much as we could. But after victory, we will send all our money to psychologists.
That's one.
Okay, so thanks to our guests, Daryna Pidhorna, Kseniia Korniienko, Sasha Romantsova, and Natalia Okhotnikova.
Thank you.
Thank you.